alive. Welcome to Shooting the Shit. We're back. We missed last time's go because of old Queenie's funeral, so we couldn't do it. We missed a session, which we will put back into the schedule if anyone is really heartbroken that they missed it. But today we are here to talk about women and social media, and why are women treated so blinking appallingly on social media, and is there anything we can do about it, or do we have to put up and shut about it? But first, exciting bit and introduction. So, Joe, what's your name and where'd you come from? And is there anything exciting you want to tell us?
So my name's Jo, Joanne Grant. I work as a publisher. I'm from Leicester, but I'm living in Surrey. And yeah, I'm quite pregnant. That's my exciting news.
Pregnant.
Look!
I can't believe, we were just saying before we went live, like, how happy we are for you. I also can't believe how amazingly tidy your bump is. When I was pregnant, I was just fat everywhere. Yeah. You look fabulous with a really neat little bump in your dunkers.
Yeah, you do. And your hair, it always looks immaculate. But by this point, I could barely be bothered to brush my teeth, let alone my hair. You look amazing.
Didn't wash my hair. Was just lying on the sofa, going, make it be
your knickers going.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I'm fucking loving it.
Glowing. That's what you are, glowing.
Yeah, you cow. Hannah, what's your name and where'd you come from?
I'm Hannah. I am from Grow Traffic, and I've got literally nothing exciting to talk about. I'm definitely not having a baby.
No.
Maybe just the food baby.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yes, no change there, though, eh? Rachel from Grow Traffic also not got any exciting news, or certainly can't top that one. No. But yes, that's it, isn't it? We're still here. We're still babbling on about women's issues and things.
My exciting news, I suppose it's not mega exciting, but it's exciting to me, is who was my baby 10 years ago is now applying for high schools. I know. And that feels big. And Joe, in 10 years, you'll be sitting here going, my baby's applying for high schools.
Yeah.
It'll feel like it's gone in the blink of an eye.
But that's the stupid thing, isn't it? People used to say that to me. They'd be like, oh, blink and it's over. And literally 10 years ago feels like that, it genuinely, when you're in the thick of it, and they're just screaming because they've got an ear infection and your carpet is smeared in yogurt and you haven't had a good night's sleep for 3 years, at that point you're like, oh, why is this dragging? But then honestly, you look back and you're like, where the hell did that go? So yeah.
Well, they say, don't they, that the days are long and the years are short.
Oh, yeah,
that's a good way to summarize it, because even Dave, the least sentimental man in the world, was looking at pictures of baby Nai a few years ago and going, oh, I don't feel that long ago, and it really doesn't.
Yeah. So you enjoy it, you bask in it. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Whereas I say, we're here to talk about women and social media, and why do women get such a short shrift on social media? Joe, has anybody ever called you a nasty, misogynistic name on social media?
You know what? No.
Oh, really?
Genuinely.
Is that just because you don't argue with idiots on social media?
I don't get. I'm very conflict averse. I'm very Switzerland when it comes to social media. So I do walk a very, on purpose, because I don't want to be. I don't want to be faced with abuse on social media. So I do. I'm very neutral in how I portray myself on social media. This is the most controversial I get, is speaking with you guys live.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we've already said that, haven't we? You put yourself out on a limb to do this, and we know it's not always in your comfort zone. But that's one of the points that we'll come on to discuss. Actually, is the fact that women very often are not, or are too frightened to put their opinions out there, to say anything even vaguely controversial, because they know that there will be a backlash. Hannah, has anybody ever called you a nasty name on social media?
Oh yeah, loads. But just to say though, the fact that Joe described it as risk averse suggests that there's a risk.
There's a risk
in putting yourself out there on social media. And I remember two very kind of not life changing, but like
noticeable,
impactful situations that changed how I interact on social media. The first was I tweeted and hashtagged in everyday sexism. It was when the Everyday Sexism project was massive, and a man in a bar had asked Dave for permission to dance with me, and so I put on Everyday Sexism, this story, and I got a massive torrent of abuse. And then from men. And then the other one was in an SEO group on Facebook. And so now I just don't use Twitter because it's so toxic and vital. And then in an SEO group, a man asked, what's the one thing that you wish you could change about the SEO industry? And I said, the sexism. Oh my God, like rape threats. It was unbelievable. I got called the most horrendous names. Like, I went onto a Sisters in SEO group, which is all women, and said, I need some help. And everybody kind of jumped in and came to my rescue. And then eventually Dali messaged the owner of the group and said, you need to get your moderators in here now because it's vile. But there were hundreds of messages from men. And all I said was the sexism.
Yeah, and they had to prove a point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Honestly, it was horrendous. It was horrific, and it's made me so nervous now. For one thing, like the everyday sexism thing, I now won't like talk about, in public platforms about experiences or sexism or my beliefs. I'll do it on Facebook because they're people that it's not as public, is it? It's your friends. And I definitely shy away from commenting in professional groups where there's men.
I don't
get shut down.
Yeah, I don't anymore. I will not. I mean, as you know, we're in several sort of Facebook communities, online communities for SEO. The female only ones, Women in Tech SEO, Sisters in SEO. Absolutely, I'll go in there and it's very, very supportive. All of the women are cheering each other on and saying, anyone got any advice? And we say, go for it and do it and blah blah. You go in the male groups or the male dominated groups, and instantly
the groups with men in.
Yeah, the groups with men in, and I won't post or I won't even comment anymore. I'll read them. I'll read what other people are saying, but I'm not even wading in because and even even when they're talking to each other, it's so passive aggressive.
Oh yeah.
Has anybody got any case studies about backlinks? Why the fuck are you doing backlinks?
Yeah,
nobody's doing backlinks, and it's just like, oh God, calm down. So so it's really go on.
I do wonder if this is just like unique to SEO because we seem to be a kind of community of pedants, or it's not like there's no kind of science. It's all this is what I think, this is what you think. It's a kind of you feel your way, or if it's female groups and male groups.
Well, I mean, the worst abuse that I got was actually over a friend's post, and she'd put a photo of her son by the Christmas tree, a teenage son, and I said, "Oh, your teenage son looks happy because he had a typically teenage morose face on." Obviously, being sarcastic, I put a laughing face after it, and I got a load of abuse from somebody that she vaguely knew about that, calling me cunt and twat and all this stuff.
I remember this.
Yeah, it was really odd. It was really odd, but that was the sort of worst personal abuse that I've ever had. But according to statistics run by Amnesty, a survey done by Amnesty International, 85% of women in the world have either witnessed or experienced abuse online. So that's from somebody calling them a stupid name, somebody calling them out. And when you look at politicians around the world, so if you look at female politicians in particular, 42% of female politicians have said that almost 100% of female politicians said that they've experienced abuse. 42% said that they have experienced severe abuse. And that counts as horrible, really offensive names, name calling, death threats, rape threats, people putting up false stories designed to discredit them, or people putting up fake stories or photos photoshopped images or whatever designed to make them appear stupid or overtly sexual. And those have been like sustained campaigns as well. So almost half of female politicians have been the victim of that level of abuse. And I mean, I don't know if you all saw recently the brouhaha with what was it? Was it Norway's or Denmark's female prime minister
who was partying?
Yeah, she went out on the piss with her friends and she danced. She danced, and she had and somebody took a photo, a video, I think, and then put it on social media, and then
they accused her of taking drugs.
Yeah, she voluntarily put herself under a drugs test to make sure that, you know, to prove that she hadn't. She was just enjoying herself with her friends. But I mean, you like that. Boris Johnson would never in a million years have got that level of abuse or criticism, would he?
No. I was listening to a really interesting podcast the other day. It was by Fee Glover. It was on BBC Sounds, and it was about trolling. And there was a man on there who had been trolled and subjected to like sexually charged hate. But there was a politician on, I can't remember her name, so this is a really good story. And but like just the fact that hearing, you know, when you say 45% of politicians have experienced a sustained issue, she was saying people said online that they were going to rape me and rape my children and find me, and they knew where I lived and they knew what I was doing, and it was not just one person, it was lots of people, and people would join in.
Put a guard on her, didn't they? Because they counted it as a credible. It wasn't just taken as somebody saying it. They counted it as a credible threat, didn't they?
And I think this is the problem, that it's so easy to look past the fact that there's a real human being on the other end of this, reading this, being affected by this, and it's even more scary in a way because it's so like intangible and in the ether. And you know, is it real? Like if someone says it to your face, I suppose you can tell if they're joking or not. Not that it's a funny thing to joke about, but it's so, you know, they could be anywhere, they could be anybody. It's so intangible, isn't it?
And that's exactly it. That's why it's so frightening, because, you know, the person doing it feels like they are anonymous because they can't see. I mean, they might have created a fake account. They can just go and delete that after they've thrown a bit of abuse at you or whatever. To them, it's a really sort of impersonal thing. But to the person on the receiving end of that, exactly as you say, they don't know where you live, that you're not watching them, you know, and that makes you feel really weird. I had a situation just at the weekend. I won't go into the entire thing, but basically I put a rug on a horse. 2 minutes later, somebody texted and said, if that rug, at 5 minutes later, if that horse breaks that rug, I'm not paying for it. And immediately I was like, oh my God, are they what? Like, it might have been coincidence that it was that far away, but immediately I felt really weird. And I felt like, am I entirely safe even being in my own field on my own property? Like, is somebody watching me? And just that thought instantly, and that's not a person threatening or anything, instantly I felt like, oh. So just not knowing if somebody is watching your children.
Was someone watching you put a rug on a horse?
I don't think so. I think he probably just went past after I'd done it, and it was probably a coincidence, but I felt a bit funny about it. Yeah, I don't know, but he might have been watching me. But it wasn't,
it's creepy.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt just a bit like, and you know, extrapolate that out to somebody's threatened to rape your child, you know, and then you don't know whether your child is safe when they're at school, walking school, whatever. Yeah, it's terrifying. So obviously there's that emotional impact, but what other impacts do you think that this has on women?
It makes them change their behaviors of what they feel they can and can't do. You know, it's not just, not just, there's no just about it, that emotional impact. You start changing your behaviors. You know, you are like me, you are risk averse. You might not speak your mind, you might not speak up, and then you know, or you might completely shut off, like Hannah had said, you know, I'm not on Twitter now. And she may have a job in the future where, you know, I want you to be on Twitter. It's like, well, I don't want to be. I can't do that. You know, these are small things, but it can make you fearful in real life. It takes something from being online, but suddenly you are in a field thinking someone's watching you. You know, it can impact every part of your life and your behavior.
And it's silencing and it's minimizing. So, you know, if you think about those communities that, like, take, for example, the SEO community, if you do that to enough women, you silence a huge part of your industry, you know, of your peers, and it reduces the impact and the visibility and the representation that women have.
And isn't that the aim of it? Isn't that the point
of
it?
I think
they want us to shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, then I don't believe that they're going into it going, right, I'm sick of these bloody women. I'm going to say this to her. I mean, some of them might have been, but I think it's more just, oh, fucking now what? I don't know what the motivation is.
Yeah, and the thing is, it becomes cyclical, doesn't it? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They might not be going out with the intention of that, but essentially that sort of SEO bro attitude becomes the norm because fewer and fewer women go in there. Now, you know, like in the business world, for example, I didn't used to like doing women-only networking because my belief is if you're a woman in business, you've got to be able to walk into a room full of men in business and hold your head up. So I don't want to, you know, segregate into these women's groups, whereas online I do that because it feels safer, and that's a stupid thing to say because potentially online they're less likely to hurt me. You know, it's words, isn't it? But actually what happens is that women go off and create these female only groups. They only talk to each other there. The SEO industry becomes less and less populated with women, and then you just, you know, we're saying we need more women in SEO, but actually when there's 12,000 men in an SEO group all conversing fine, and then 3,000 women in a little group, and we're off having a conversation on our own, we're not visible to those men. We're not going to be invited to speak at conferences. We're not, you know, our opinions are not taken seriously, and so it flows out, it spills out into the offline world, doesn't it? And it's not just work communities. The same thing happens in, you know, beekeeping communities, I would imagine, and, you know, metal detecting communities.
Well,
you know,
I think as well, you're right about it spills out. So if you think about the rise of inceldom, which we've talked about before, and I'm reading an amazing book at the moment, which is called Why Men Hate Women, which talks a lot about incels. And you know, incels, it started online and it spills out into real actions because the impact of what is being said and done becomes deadened every time somebody reads it. They become emboldened that this is the way you can speak and this is acceptable, and there's not been a consequence to saying that you're going to try and rape somebody's child. And so I'm going to say it again, or I'm going to say something slightly worse, or I'm going to say what I really feel, or actually he's made a good point, I agree with that. And so it just snowballs to the point where activities are being taken offline, and hatred against women that started online results in things like, you know, where incels drive their car into groups to kill the women, or where they go into schools and shoot up women only and girls only. And, you know, these are real events, and it happens and it spirals. Or it's not as extreme and it's just insidious that misogyny becomes so ingrained into people's way of thinking. It has to spill out into real life.
And the other thing is that you know, that I will share some links in the comments of this section and the show notes, whatever you want to call it. But there was some research done at Lancaster University just last year, actually, by a PhD student, and she was looking at the sort of sprawl of the manosphere, if you like, which includes incel communities and stuff. And the same, you know, yes, it's spreading offline. People are then going and getting guns and going and shooting women, but you know, it's seeping into other communities online. And again, as women change their behavior and say, I don't want to risk actually being called a cunt, so I'm just not going to go there. That manosphere, that bro attitude, that language of the incels becomes more prevalent, more common. And so Twitter at the moment, I mean, even the CEO of Twitter at the minute, you know, Amnesty International have a big campaign about making Twitter more equitable. And every year, they've actually, if you look on the website, again, I'll put a link to it, they've put a quote of every Twitter CEO. Every year they've said, this is not good enough, we need to do something about it. I promise this year I'm going to do it. And then they post next year's quote. They've got it going back to 2011 of the CEO of Twitter saying, yeah, no excuses, we need to sort it out, it's not acceptable. But it's just seeping everywhere and taking over. So, you know, you're right. How do you then? It's becoming more of an issue, harder to combat it because we didn't do anything about it in the beginning.
But how do you? That's the big old question, isn't it? How do you police social media and people's opinions? And that's what a lot of people take. Well, it's my opinion, I'm going to have it. It's just so. I just can't get over how vile people can be to complete strangers, and what it takes for that individual to think that's what I'm going to say and have that much hatred inside of you. I think that's what really alarms me, is the level of hatred that comes out.
And I think the thing that I think, like, where we start is, we've all sat here and talked about real life and social media, like the two different things. Social media is real life, and freedom of speech. You know, I'll stand and defend freedom of speech all day long, but there's consequences to what you say sometimes. Like, you can't spout hate against a certain demographic. And, you know, as a cis woman, like, I have a lot of benefits and privileges as the three of us do, and like, it's bad for us. So imagine what it's like for LGBTQ plus women and women of color, and like it's just a gazillion times worse, disabled women and stuff. So, like, I think the first thing that needs to happen is that it stops being treated as an online thing, and therefore not as serious. Like, you can't get online without an IP address, and you need to have a real life address. Like, everybody is traceable through the internet, and people should be held accountable for what they say online.
I mean, that's a very good point, isn't it, about the reality. There was a program, I think it was like Stacey Dooley did it a few years ago on the iPlayer, I think it still is, tracing down internet trolls, and she traced quite a few of them, and they like met up with them, and they're like, why do you do this? Why do you cause people this level of pain? And quite a lot of them were just young lads going, it was just a laugh. I wasn't. You're like, why did you threatened to rape and kill this woman and her children? And I just thought it was funny. I didn't really mean it. And this woman the woman has lived in fear for 5 years, and it was just kids having a laugh. So yeah, I think there should be, if you're going to have a level of accountability, if you're going to open a social media account, you have to prove, like you do if you're opening a bank account, that you are a real person, that you've got an address, that you've got a level of sort of responsibility. That would stop people just opening accounts to abuse people and closing them again and then starting a new one.
Yeah, so real consequences. Real consequences. But I would also say you would probably need, if you think about, you'd need a whole entire different police force to deal with that.
About how would you deal? But I mean, I think
you'd need an actual whole organisation whose that would be their responsibility.
Yeah. But I think the social media platforms have got a responsibility to this as well, because I know that they say we're just a vehicle, we're just a platform. It's not up to us to police freedom of speech, but it is, because you can't have people spouting hate on your social media platform, and like freedom of speech is not the same thing as allowing hate speech.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, go on, Joe.
So I find that really difficult as well. It's we've entered into a really good era. People talk about, I'm going to share my truth. It's just like, well, that doesn't give you free rein to be really hateful and mean.
Yeah.
And
the other thing is that people mistake what a social media platform is. People think a social media platform, this is my soapbox for me to say whatever I want to the world. They're not. They're private companies. And you are using that company's platform in exchange for them gathering your data. That's the deal that you've made, whether you're aware of it or not. So, they are gathering information on you, and they are allowing you to use their platform for free so that they can do that. But you still have to abide by the rules of that platform. It's Facebook is not, your personal platform to say the hateful things.
Corner. Yeah,
exactly.
If you were to go and take a literal soapbox and go and stand out on the street and shout whatever you want, ranting and raving like bloody Abu Hamza, like you are going to get arrested, because you can't say stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
can I have sorry to jump back, but I know we're probably going to run out of time. I've got a genuine question about the SEO communities. Is, because we're really talking about, how women are treated in social media. You reference that a lot of the blokes can be like, they're just passive aggressive to one in each other. So could you is it that the environment itself can get toxic, and it's just how the men interact with either a man or a woman that's the difference? So they're being pretty shitty to whoever, but they tend to fall back on sexist, misogynistic language when it's a woman.
When it's a woman,
and when it's a man, they just get all a bit you know.
They are
uppity.
worse, I think. Yeah, they're worse with women because they're a lot more patronizing when it's a woman. But yeah, just generally.
But they're just generally picking it.
They are generally like that.
Yeah.
But again, this brings us to a sort of another point of what we can do about it, because that's not unique to the SEO community. I left my local Bake Up past and present Facebook page because it was so toxic. Because anybody posted it, there's a bring and buy at the church hall this week. Well, bloody Rossendale Borough Council have taken some brown envelopes in order to do that, haven't they? And straight away it was in with the passive aggressive. It was
nobody
awful.
could do or say a single thing without people jumping on. And I think, my God, like I live in the same area as these people, and I don't like walk down the street and people are going, "Well, I bet you got that bloody thing from Rotherham Council." Like nobody, everyone's chill. But then
they say like, there wasn't a bring and buy at the Methodist church, was there? Why is there a bring and buy at the Baptist church? Bloody Baptist, honestly, it's horrendous. But this is the thing about these online communities and that level of anonymity and that level of detachment that people feel for it. So just generally speaking, take women out of the equation. I think there just needs to be a lot more education and a lot more training. I think if you want to be an admin of a page, particularly a community page, then you need to at least be able to conform, take some sort of standards or pass or test or something to say that you're competent to do this. But also I think as a community, as a society, we need to get better at calling out or correcting this type of behavior. It is possible to be a moderator for a community group that doesn't allow people to speak to each other in that way. I've seen it happen. So is that a community responsibility that we do that?
Well, I was just about to say, but then it goes back to, it just becomes that the fear is that the moderator doesn't stop it, and all he does is channel that anger onto the moderator, and God help her if it's a woman.
Yeah.
That would be my take on that. It's just like, why would you want to be a moderator on a group like that? Because
I know. I mean, when you said that, Rach, like just the thought of having to police this and moderate, like, oh God. I mean, I think one platform that gets a lot of bad rep that I think has the moderation down pat is Reddit. So like their moderators, there's a different board, and there tends to be like one or two boards for every kind of interest. And their moderators are like the first and last word of everything. There's no comeback. They can remove people immediately. There's rules to every group, more so than Facebook.
And this is what I mean. It's possible. It's possible. Reddit is actually really good at that, at doing that moderator level. So that proves that they can do it, which means it is a conscious choice that Facebook and Twitter have had. I mean, obviously there are problems with blanket rules and blanket regulations, because that's when you get into the realm of, they can't take into account nuances of human language, or, you just say, sarcasm, or, somebody was saying the other day about it's going to blow up or whatever, and they got a ban. Who was it? It was Rebecca talking about a sale or something, wasn't it?
Rebecca got a ban for saying that there was a massive spider living in her loft, so she was going to burn a house down.
Yeah, that was it.
So
she got banned.
I got
banned
from Facebook. Yeah, and this is the problem. Yeah,
I've had a 16-day ban on Facebook because I said, if my husband gives me the shit fork again, I'm going to stab him in the neck with it. He's a bit violent.
But this is the irony, isn't it? You're not allowed to jokingly say you're going to stab your husband with a fork. It's health and safety gone mad.
Bloody political correctness. I mean, that fork has got wonky prongs. It ain't doing any damage.
But this is the problem, isn't it? Then you introduce a sort of algorithmic check, and that doesn't understand nuance or sarcasm, or, you ban naked pictures of naked people, which means you then can't have art on the platform. And, there are issues with things like that. So it does have to sort of fall back to a human level, because you can't do it any other way, in which case, like I say, Reddit's got it right. We look to Reddit and see how they're doing it, and you have to instill that level of respect and authority and say the moderator is the first and last line. What they say goes. There's no arguments.
I think the algorithms have got a responsibility. Like, you know, the platform's got a responsibility. But what are you sniggering at?
Those damn algorithms are naughty.
Bloody algorithms.
when we come down to it, there is a human at the other end that is responsible for their own you know, output. And yes, the social media platform should clamp down on it. But how do we get through to people that it's not okay to talk shit to other people? That, like, you wouldn't say it to their face. Like, you wouldn't say it if your mother was standing next to you. So why are you saying it, like, online? Because it's just as hurt. In fact, I would say in some ways it's more impactful.
More hurtful.
Because psychologically humans want to belong and to have, like, be part of a unit. That's what we strive for. That's why when someone says something critical of you, you know, it makes you feel like shit for like a day and a half. Yeah. But when you read it over and over and over and over again, there's, you know, 20 comments saying how awful you are. That's got a really, like, deep psychological impact.
And if you were together in a room, you would talk that out. You would say, why do you think that about me? Well, because I think you're stupid. Well, actually, I've done this, this, and this, and I think this. Oh, no, well, actually, that's a good point. But on social media, you can't do that. It just gets more and more entrenched. And so the hurt becomes deeper and deeper. Yeah. So this is why there are actually, again, and I'll put the links in the comments, there are a few agencies. Amnesty International is one, the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee, the World Wide Web Foundation, Tim Berners-Lee's charity, and a couple of others, which again I'll share. But they have campaigns going on to stop misogyny and general hate crime and hate speech and stuff online. And the general thing is, you know, they are lobbying governments to make changes. They're lobbying the platforms themselves to do more. But you're right. The one aspect that we can't sort of lobby and legislate for is humans. And so do we need to provide more training? I know kids now get this sort of thing in PSHE, don't they? Well, do you know what, actually? I think what kids learn, and this is an interesting point, kids learn how to deal with hate speech and abuse online, but I don't think they're actually taught not to do it, which is, again, we're looking at things the wrong way here, aren't we?
Yeah, it's totally victim blaming.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot with just general, if something goes wrong, it's like, where is the person to stop this? I was like, what about the individual that did it in the first place? There's often a lot. Everyone's always looking elsewhere to blame and not at the individuals. And how do you change society? Or especially within it does feel like, have people always been like this, but it's been contained within their little groups, or is it being perpetuated? And I would say it worries me that it's being perpetuated because it seems normal. If you can see it, someone else has said it. So, you know, that bit about the validation. But I think it needs to be taught.
I feel like
it's not acceptable.
I do. I feel like it's getting worse and more, and it's everywhere. And I think we need to teach children that it's not acceptable to do it. So I think it needs to become part of the PSHE curriculum, or whatever they call it these days. But also, you know, is there levels of training, whether it be through the workplace or online courses that you can do? I think that needs to be provided. And I think what that training should do is explain to people the impact. So you think you're just a teenage lad calling a woman a cunt and saying you're going to rape her. Well, actually, that has real world consequences to that woman. And here, have a chat with that woman and see how you made her feel. Because when you do that, when you have that human connection, that this stops it. That's what restorative justice is, isn't it? That's the theory behind it. So, you know, maybe we need to create, maybe we could do this through the Soroptimist, Hannah. Maybe we need to create some lesson plans and resources and stuff like that to teach people that actually this is not a joke. It really hurts people.
I think as well, employers, because this is not just kids doing it. You know, it's people from the walks of life.
All grown people who should know better.
Yeah. Well, what was that case? Was it in the pandemic? There was something, wasn't there? Oh no, it was the football, the women's football, and the guy made a really horrible, racist and sexist, I think, comment about football. Somebody screenshotted it and sent it to his boss, and he got the sack. You know, that kind of accountability, I think, needs to be upheld, doesn't it?
Yeah. Thanks for making my point.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Like, employers have got I mean, everywhere I've worked, especially in the public sector, has always said you're representing this company on and offline, and you're not allowed to say inflammatory, derogatory things. And people were sacked for saying things where I used to work, and rightly so. So I think, you know, there's a responsibility. Like, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to stop bigoted arseholes from because I think it is getting worse, because you wouldn't go to the pub and say, see that woman over there, I'm gonna rape her kids and beat the shit out of her and cut her head off and piss in her neck. Like, you know,
or she said, I don't like football.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point as well. That's the word. Like the what's being said is so disproportionate to what it comes from, and that's the disconnect. You know, there's no.
And I mean, that's the final point. We have actually, the final point. We've covered all of the points that are recommended online for how to tackle this. You know, lobby government, introduce training, all that kind of stuff. The final point is just not to stand for it, and that doesn't mean that they're not saying women, you know, put yourself in a position of threat, or you know, keep fighting back with a moronic troll or whatever. What they're saying is, if you experience abuse online, report it and then block that person. Don't just let it slide. Every single instance that, even if it's not directed at you, report it and block the person, because that's the only way they're going to learn. But otherwise, you know, just don't accept those levels of misogynistic language generally, you know, and don't let men accept them. But, you know, when they're in the pub or whatever, having those conversations, just don't let that kind of misogynistic hate speech, disproportionate chat become the norm, become a joke, become acceptable to say, look at that stupid woman, I'm going to rape her. That should not be a jokey thing that they able to say. Yeah. So it's just, you know, society, don't let people get away with it offline. Don't let them get away with it online. But, you know, keep yourself safe.
Okay.
Well, there we go. And we've gone a little bit over time, but not too bad actually. So, Jo, final word.
I don't know what else to say after that lovely summing up there, Rachel. I was just, I think I just feel very thankful that I haven't been on the receiving end. Doesn't mean I don't see it. It doesn't mean I don't put into block people. I have done that.
Yeah.
When I've seen
it.
Don't be a dick online. That's my final thought.
Mine is the same as yours, actually, Jo. I'm gonna, and I haven't done this, and I feel really disappointed in myself. I've experienced it, but I've seen other women being called names, and I've just thought that's not very nice. But I'm not wading into that, and actually, I'm going to start reporting people and blocking it, because the only way the algorithms the companies rather, are gonna deal with this and change the algorithms is if they get enough of those responses of people saying, actually, that's not all right. So we all need to take action, and as Hannah says, use our privilege. There we go. Cool. Right. Brilliant. Thank you very much. If you have watched this, well, I don't think anyone's watched this live, actually, because I forgot to advertise that we were doing it. So there we go. If you are watching it back and you'd like to leave us a comment or a question, please do. I will put the links, as I said, in the comments. If you are listening to this as a podcast, thank you. Please rate and subscribe us and do all those other things. Subscribe to us. And if you are watching it on YouTube, subscribe below. And also you may comment and we'll watch it. That's it. Thank you very much. We'll be back in 2 weeks, but Jo, you won't, because you will be on an enforced maternity leave by then, won't you?
Maybe.
So we might not see you for a few weeks, but will you come on with baby and show him off to us, please?
Yeah, I'll do the whole Lion King.
Yeah. Marvelous. We're very excited and can't wait.
Our second shooting the shit baby.
Yes, of course, because Aubrey was born just as we started, more or less, wasn't she? Yeah. Oh, wow. There we go. Round a girl and a boy.
Yeah, exciting.
Marvelous. Right. Thank you very much. I'm pressing the button. Bye.